Chile with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Moon Hour Jupiter Day. Well, the Moon is 15 degrees Aquarius in the second house. Midheaven applies to Sun in Scorpio and Mars in 26 degrees Scorpio. This is a tense week with Mars applying to oppose Uranus, and a tense month with Black Moon Lilith applying to oppose Uranus on her way to Ingress Sagittarius. And indeed, yesterday we had elections in the Netherlands, and it went from right wing to left wing. I myself did not vote because the structure in terms of extortion calls is that every prime minister would need to have the extortion tapes on like other people, and I did not see leaders address that. Um, is also why I did not agree to certain offers that I had. And tended to that topic that would interfere my work in any one of those offers. So, um, so in terms of as a person that tends to political assassination prevention, first of all, I'm a bit calmer because for me, another Pim for town, for Twain, would be more annoying to tackle at this time. And that was a genuine concern. I do think that the anti-Islam route is at this time where they try to make a one world religion, all the junk from all the religions comes out. And I loved seeing, the Talmudic instructions on how legal it is to rape a baby, and the Christian everything that happened. I love the ex-Mormons. All the junk coming out from all the religions, including atheism, and I find that lovely. I find that so needed. So it's very difficult to, and even though Geert Wilders was, he very much his policy was literally plagiarized by almost any other party. But at the same time, um, any premier would need to be dealing with having to hold the tapes of extortion calls of which means that there would need to be such tapes, okay? um, and and when it comes to the very needed look at all religions, it's all religions. It's not just Islam. But for me, I feel calmer now that I don't have to wonder when will the next assassination attempt happen. Is it a risk or not a risk? Um, and I think there is a sense of like, relief. There was this, the party D66, which a lot of people offer to call it D666, but they are, I think, Forum for Democracy was not striking too big on that topic, although they did, they threw out the Deming and they threw out the Committee for Satanic against ritual abuse. But they did not address the fact that being prime minister, one would need to deal with that, um, and if not, pretty much, I think all of the candidates were probably involved in some sort of abuse as both victims and perpetrators. I could be wrong about the particulars, but that would make it very challenging from within the government to tend to that. Um, Without sexual sovereignty, we actually don't have representation because it harms the identity and makes people more susceptible to mind control, both the representatives and the represented. Um, Now let's take a look at the leading party. Um, D66. So yeah, boost dual nationality drive. What does that mean? Yes, as a person that holds two, I actually hold two nationalities, but not two passports, because Israel's Ministry of Interior is dysfunctional. So I'm practically an exiled Dutch that um, relinquish nationality. Oh, this is something that I hoped also for my parent, but that was way before. Um, yes, so there are a lot of people. Dutch embassy was so strict that if a person would forget to renew passport or not be able to, they would lose their Dutch nationality. And not all people have access to lawyers and money laundering and to get so that would be pretty problematic. And the PFFA wanted to abolish dual nationality. Not that it doesn't have a rationale, but that's something that doesn't go along with bringing Netherlanders back to Netherlands, because it's Netherlanders that lost their nationality. Um, Shout out to the people who have helped my non originally born Dutch mother or father is fully Dutch, and I don't know what to do. Because I have my Israeli mother is fully Dutch, and it's not until I was in the Netherlands that I understood to what extent. Because for me, it's like I just grew up with that. um, so the leader of the party, wait, okay, I will have to see. Blank slate. I want to see a natal chart. If there is a natal chart to look at how the entire thing goes. I'm not in LinkedIn, thank you very much. Um, so we have, I don't know if the relief is because I put cedarwood atlas oil or simply because we are after the elections. Um, it was a very stressed, it was a very stressed event. And of course, in Israel, they take a look at at Wilders. Rob Eaton. How the heck do I spell that? It's probably Eaton. Oh, this close. Natal chart. What are the chances? Um, oh, we have. Yes, we have a chart. 1987. So, Grand Cross of the Order of Civil Merit. Okay. We don't have an ascendant. Raw Jupiter Sol, 22 Mars in Taurus. Okay. Mars on my lot of spirit, opposing my own Mars. Um, oh, the moon, 11 degrees, and he had a lunar return. Venus, 26 degrees, Aquarius, Mercury close to Fomalhaut, Sol in Aries, Jupiter Aries, the first decan of Aries, Rahu 11 degrees Aries, Mars 22. Well, this is normal because those people that usually come from certain bloodline lineage that is associated with those degrees. Chiron 16 degrees Gemini, the Chiron Gemini generation. Lilith on my moon? Okay. Lilith in Cancer. And I don't think I knew charts with Lilith in Cancer before. Neptune in Capricorn, Saturn, Uranus on the galactic center. And this is Saturn, Uranus on the galactic center, with Jupiter in Aries. Jupiter. It's going to be very prominent in time for like religious revolution to do with military and women. Hopefully it's not like femicide type of thingy. I don't have a ascendant, so I don't know what would be Pluto 9 degrees Scorpio in conjuncting Rahu, Jupiter, and Sun. Okay, first of all, he had a lunar return. Where is Saturn? Saturn in Sagittarius, 21 degrees. Very prominent leader at times of revolution. It makes sense that he will be, and this is global position with Uranus. It's a global position. Uranus meet heaven to me, but this galactic center. This is a person who is very deeply informed about anything revolutionary, particularly of spiritual and religion, and to do with sovereignty. But with Mars here, there can be a topic of femicide. They may expect him to do or cooperate with femicide. Where is his Venus? 26 degrees Aquarius, which would give him a karma trajectory to his sense of optimism and expansion. So they would try to undermine him by making him comply with femicide. But because of Uranus, there can be really unexpected turns to his beliefs and his actions on those beliefs. That can somehow create wealth redistribution around values, women. It's not an easy aspect, okay? Venus square Mars is challenging aspect, and those associated with the rulers of Uranus and Saturn. He did talk about housing, having more houses built. Probably there is a belief that is going to unite with the Feifa Day, which was the central rite central liberal right or economy right, central wave. um, that was the party of Mark Rutte before he became head of NATO, and of course the Greens. Um, there are probably going to be a couple of upheaval around, like government, yes, no, but this, whatever will happen, is going to be unexpected and important, both for 2030 axis, but also for like the coming events. They're definitely going to attempt to make him comply with femicide, maybe under the guise of LGBTQ. I don't know if that will be successful. One of the ways in which that can take turn is kind of like, the suffragists that died in the death camps, and then women got the right to vote when all of the people that resisted the suffragists died in the war. That was created by their stolen womb energy. And alternatively, it's going to be some other take on that. Like, I really don't know, because the ritual around creation of housing are still to do with like satanic rituals. But here's something unexpected can happen. So I don't know what will be. Mercury from aloud, it means that this person has this psychic awareness, psychic ability to foresee certain things, and it's ruled by Jupiter. Although there is a square relation between Neptune and Sol Jupiter Rahu, so Neptune squaring the nodes can give fated events. Um, Again, this Neptune ruled by Saturn that applies to conjoin Uranus. And now we're at the time where Saturn sextile Uranus and conjoining Neptune, that shows us why this person of globalist, that any governor now will have an interface with globalist agenda. So we're going to see a lot of galactic centers, I believe, on the chart of leaders. It's not for nothing that I'm this, a weird astrologer that doesn't work with MK often, is not affiliated particularly to anything, and has a midheaven on a galactic center, picking up those charts, okay, that have the galactic center pinpointed. Um, but Uranus is a global revolution type of thing. So whatever will happen, this chart will play a role in such global revolution that is spiritual, religious. Okay, when people think about one world religion, and so on and so forth. And there will be unexpected turns for both the native of the chart and the people around. Um, with the moon squaring Pluto and sextiling Sun, Jupiter, and Rahu, um, moon trining Chiron, ruled by Mercury. Mercury trining Pluto, which is good. Mercury trining Pluto from this position, there can be communication that is both psychic awareness, but also he will have to address mind control. And this is a Mercury that can delve into the deep and have psychic awareness of those trajectories. It's Mercury Fomalhaut, basically. And Fomalhaut can be very protective. Lilith ruled Lilith Sirius. So Lilith Sirius is a very important combination. And this is in the first house of the 1800 chart. It's the sexual sovereignty in relation to conception and fertility. That's the cloning project. And housing. With Sirius, there is protection if those are tended to. He will be required to deal with the femicide that's already existing in the Netherlands, and not just by Islam. Venus sextile Uranus and Saturn. Venus in this position can be troublesome when it comes to things done to women. So is there's just something about this trajectory. By the way, Chiron Gemini, the relinquishing dual nationality for people that lost it is actually tending to this Chiron that can be positive. Okay, people that lost document Neptune in Capricorn. Um, but the way that they would probably try to make him undermine himself by those rituals to do with women around housing. If he falls to that card, then he can be undermined and be put in incarceration with similar conditions to this Venus. Okay, to women. Um, however, when it comes to how to avoid being undermined, with this chart, religious tolerance in spirit and in matter, sovereignty of ritual, any sovereignty of the energy, okay? So not to do rituals that are violating other people's sovereignty. For example, for him, let's say he has to deal with many people from with Islamic people in the country, then setting boundaries to practices that violate sovereignty under the guise of Islam, particularly towards children. And here I see boys actually, not even girls. It starts from the boys, of what they do to boys, and to stop that would help women too. Young boys at the military, at the Royal Army, but also is to do with women here because Mars is 22 Taurus, Venus in Aquarius. I think it's more feminization rituals, to stop feminization rituals in the army, in the Royal Army, and to stop any type of Royal Army violation of women. But here women is in some sort of trafficking, women trafficking, because it's boys trafficked that are murdering women that are in some sort of experiments done on them. His Chiron is in 12th house of Netherlands. So what he did with this passport thingy is very good for him. And he will have to address the deeper issues. His Mercury probably can already foresee the points of interference better than I can, because his Mercury on Fomalhaut and is ruled by this Jupiter. Now, because of Jupiter Rao, there are going to be fated events. First of all, Jupiter Rao is good, is expansion, is making the problem big enough to see, that's for sure. But it's ruled by 22 Mars. So through that Mercury that curates this Chiron in the any type of targeting or experiments that are done either as feminization ritual or on women, okay, in jails, in hospitals, in unusual form of imprisonment, which means Saturn Neptune is unusual type of jail, which means the targeted individuals by the classified budget. And he will need to come up with a strategy, because what they plan to do is to do that to him, even though probably he went through that, to do that to him and make it look like this is karma, that now he's going through that. Kind of like the Bilderberg chart. Bilderberg and Belsen. So, okay, because they would want to frame him as this, oh, look what he's doing to women, to this, to that, to that, to that. He is the prime minister, or he is the leader, he is the this. Now let's do this to him. How do you think? Kind of like that. They're going to try to play it like that with him. And I think most party leaders understood that that's something that's going to happen, and they kind of like withdrew from the event of being prime ministers at this time. But to curate those things, okay, so that these things wouldn't be done, then, and he would have this insight from Mercury Fomalhaut, on what are the point of interferences. Now, as per the transits, um, yes, Pluto and Neptune are not particularly pinpointing anything directly here. And Uranus, still not yet, but is co-present with Chiron, which could activate Chiron. But this is actually a very active. It's delving deeper to what's underneath, what was underneath that issue with the double, with the people losing their Dutch nationality. It's delving what was underneath, which he probably has a good insight to, but it's going to continue to grow. Okay, when a leader is before 50, then Chiron is not matured yet, is not Chiron returned yet. So it's a journey where we already see that there are things on the right track, but it takes a trajectory to actually recover that Chiron. This is a very important Chiron for the chart of the Netherlands. Um, Lot of fortune here I don't address because we don't have ascendant in midheaven. Ketu 11 degree Libra. Well, we already have the transits around that. And actually nothing particular in the last degrees of Scorpio that is triggered right now. Lucky him. Mars opposed Mars opposing Mars. So you had a Mars opposition recently. Lilith separating from opposition to Mars. And the Mercury in the beginning of Sagittarius. Okay, not a serious build-up, except that this was his lunar return. And the galactic center. I think the galactic center plays a role here more so than the transits. Because everybody's thinking 2030. Um, there was an agenda to get people to not vote ever. Um, I don't think that that's the. It's not good for anyone, particularly not those who think that it's good for them. Um, it doesn't mean that people should go to vote for people that did not abolish human trafficking and all types of stuff or ritual abuse, but it doesn't mean that to abolish voting ever is going to be benefic. Okay, the only type of regime where people can, where a leader can finish their yearly, okay, be okay with somebody else is elected, and that leader can just ride a bicycle back home. This is only in democracy. So we actually need more representation and sovereignty, which means sovereignty on energy level and on sexual sovereignty and individual sovereignty. And it always comes in a square with Cancer that's ruled by the moon, which is nourishment and even motherly love that heals people from ritual abuse. Yes. And yes, and square with Capricorn, which is you know, basically being informed of historical trajectories. Um, and each, and Adolf Hitler, if he had a different history teacher, what would what would the 20th century look like? And so, um, and the opposition to Libra, which is the tipping of the scales of trade before justice. And so interesting. I'll be pondering about this Lilith in conjoining Sirius. Um, I remember when Lilith went through cancer and everybody just wanted a hug. Not the hug, the different hug. So perhaps it can be more informed of how important is maternal love and care to sovereignty, because Lilith is squaring the nodes, and how it can prevent suicide, if that makes sense. Um, so perhaps the nourishing conditions that are supposed to be there for people not to commit suicide or murder or even femicide in that regard. Interesting chart. Very, very young candidate. Okay, 87 means not even 40. He recently had Saturn maturation. So this would mean that if we're going to have a 4-year government, he will have his Pluto square, Neptune square, and Uranus opposition. Uranus opposition, I think, not yet. Uranus opposition, not yet. But Pluto and Neptune square are going to be during his. Kim Jong Un had this before, and for Kim Jong Un, he had the Pluto in the 29 degrees Libra. He's my age, and I'm the 0 degree Scorpio. So for him, it was opening North Korea to oligarch visitors and sending troops to Europe, and considering being a part of the BRICS, with everybody expecting that Kim Jong Un will be kind of like more of a liberal leader. Okay, and now he will be going through the Neptune. He's going through the Neptune square right now. Um, and the leaked satellite photos of him playing the main character in MASH in North Korean. So hopefully, hopefully this country will not be North Korea. But this would be an interesting, I don't know, to go back to, that would be 20 years ago. 20 years ago was 2005, 2000, the late 2000s. Um, I don't know. I would look for scandals, historical scandals. It was not 96, so um, So what scandals are going to be in the coming? Well, Pluto has some time before it goes. It's gonna do the back and forth for the coming 2 years, and then 3, 4 years would be the Pluto squares of the middle decan of Scorpio. Neptune, I think, actually, yeah, it's going to be at around the time. So it's building up for, and the Saturn, Neptune are going to be conjoining Sun and Jupiter here. Um, it is in the same decan. It's going to affect him, of course. Um, Pluto will have some time, and the Pluto square will be with Pluto conjoining Moon. Or it can be, I don't, depending on, because we don't have exact hour, the Pluto could already be conjoining Moon, or the Moon is closer to like the last decan. So I don't know. Okay, in terms of the location of the Moon, if Pluto is already activating that. Um, because we don't actually have the Moon degree here. But investing in housing will have to be treated also when it comes to the rituals around the creation of housing. Um, they will try to undermine him at every single step of the road, um, as they try with manifestations and okay, and then they will frame and blame him, okay, for those underminings. So definitely every single thing that Trudy is talking about, he will have to tend to that. Aligning crown chakra. I don't mean monarchy, I mean crown chakra is going to be very important to maintain that his manifestations are his manifestations, because they try to fumble with that. With Mercury formal out here can give more awareness to those things. Yes, of course, I don't know the person. If he's like full blown satanic, then, but then it's going to be treason cult anyway. Um, but uh, uh, but I tend to believe that a lot of the people that actually survive this um, have something else in mind, particularly a desire to change something, and the amount of it's such condensed psychology that is compacted with the nervous system when it comes to those positions, both the hidden decision makers and the visible ones, that it is indeed very, very challenging. It's not a simple delineation of the nature of a person, a decision, and so on. More things that are visible. Saturn, Venus, sextile. He has to be cautious when he's doing diplomatic relations, particularly if women are involved. because this is where there could be, through those nervous system hacks, because this sextile can work in benefit, but it can also work in, just like, nervous system hacking, ritual satanic cults agreeing with the nervous system of the of the diplomatic relations. So this is the thing with harmonious aspects. There can simply be an agreement, and it doesn't denote whether that agreement is in favor of not or not in favor. But it can also give good position for diplomatic relations, particularly around wealth redistribution. Okay, we look for politicians, we look in diplomatic relationships, we look to Venus. Strategy, Mars, as usual. Yes, first time I see this chart. To me, the most striking is this Lilith Sirius that I just never seen before. Um, so I don't know how this plays a part in the policies, but Sirius is a very political. Okay, Sirius is the new year of the people that make the decisions around the lobbying. Okay, is the each and every one can turn to Sirius, but the thing is that the way we look to Sirius rising to see whether it's going to be favorable for Europe or not, and there are actually people that are busy in delineation. I think this year it was difficult. There was something to do with difficult to see Sirius. I don't remember. I need to look at Krasi's chart, at Krasi's video on that, because she lived next to the area, and many people from all over the world come to see Sirius rising there. Um, I try to recall my Sirius rising this year. I made talismans with Jupiter Venus we had before Sirius rising. Then Sirius was on the 17, 18, I think, of August. I don't remember. And this would be on Lilith here. So the fact that we have a leader that has Lilith Sirius, or important placement on Sirius. Um, yes, I have my moon there, but it's also first house for the 1800 chart. Um, it tells us that there is a lot of opportunity for Europe to make fated choices that are preventing very malefic things. And he's going to be needing that Mercury from out because they are going to attempt to interfere. Yes, Venus, I think, is not in orb for Deneb Algedi. I could be wrong. Um, Deneb Algedi can be benefic here. For Malaut can be benefic. Sirius will accentuate on any Lilith themes. Um, and again, I just remember Lilith as a transit in Cancer. It was the hugging stuffy at that time. Okay, it was like, what is your deepest, darkest fantasy? A hug. Uh, okay, nourishing hug that doesn't expect, other things. And this is so important now for what's happening in the world. Um, let's take a look at the news a little bit. I have Netherlands news. Yes, I got late. You remember when I did video and I got an omen opposition? But I think for me, I'm more calm because it would be a pin for Twain. Everybody knows that. Now I can say that, right? It would be a pin for Twain, and it wouldn't address the trafficking topic, which is and the extortion call topic. So. The Dutch snap elections, what's happening with the stake? Okay, so this is. Oh, so this is coming actually more adjacent. Oh, okay, 98 of the votes counted, both D66 and, or D666 and PVV were heading for 26 seats at the parliament. You know, it's so like me to say that and then read that. A projection from Dutch news agency ANP said on Thursday. Well, for Geertje Wilders, when it comes to preventing assassination, okay, I named it the problems. It's coming from that structure of extortion cults to the trafficking cults, arranged marriage, whatever they call that. It's those things. From there they will try to bring that, and it will try to Dutch woman. Okay, they're looking for a Dutch woman. You understand? And I will tell you even more, they're looking for a Dutch cisgender woman because the guy from the same village didn't work out because a woman prevented that. Never mind. So, um, initial exit polls had put Yetten in the lead. Um, but Wilders will still achieve his second best results ever. Okay, so far it is pretty adjacent. So far pretty adjacent. By the way, when I talk about prevention of assassination, the 22 Mars in Venus sign for Yetten is um, next to the moon in 1800 chart that conjoins the beta per se. It's the spirit and matter deacon, okay? So particularly the rituals that are done to steal a creative power of women, this is how they will try to assassinate him if he is not cautious to clear the rituals, okay, to not have those rituals down in his credential, because this is where they would take the assassinate, this is where it's both. It's the same risk, but for Wilders is like a Dutch cis woman. For Yetten could be not Palestine, a Moroccan woman, but that had her creative, what not stolen from then this would be the one would be okay, and the other. Um, why women? Because of the femicide. So for Wilders, they will try to show that this is a Dutch woman, and for Yetten, they will try to show that this is a immigrant woman, or something of the sort. And it's the spirit of matter, deacon of Taurus for Yetten. Um, and yes, it's also because this is the moon. And we're talking about moon-related things also with Wilders, populist leader Moon. Then this is also applying to Wilders. I will not disclose further indications because what's not public in the chart, then I don't address. Okay, what is out there, I address. But if there is no chart out there, then I don't address that. Uh, yes, I also don't over delineate to like the lots or the this or the that. Um, so still very tight. Um, and this is really opposing. Okay, Wilders want to abolish dual nationality and deport and so on. And Yetten wants to relinquish dual nationality and build more housing and so on and so forth. Now, is Yetten as much at risk for assassination? Yes, because of the femicide. Okay, it's very high risk. The 22 lot of fortune in 1800 chart is pinpointed by the eclipses. So whoever will be elected, I said, is very, very, yes, cautionary. And this is also why you see me so openly addressing that, because, I think a political assassination for the peoples, whether it's any people that had political assassination in regime that was considered to be democratic, I think experienced that as childhood trauma. Um, why until you are 80? Why only 80? So far, this is from 2 hours ago. Yesterday I was told opposition. Um, but yes, I remember the elections in 2023. It was everybody was happy.